You going into me? Okay. Good morning to our Wesley colleagues and our Delaware State University colleagues. Thank you for joining us today on this important session. I'm joined by my colleague and friend, President Bob Clark, Wesley College, and many members of my senior leadership team. Behind me, you'll see our phrase for this year, the power of we. At Delaware State University, we recognize the significant importance of coming together around any number of issues. I know Wesley College feels exactly the same, and given what we've all been through with respect to COVID, racial unrest, the political meanderings of 2020, I think our ability to come together becomes very important as we think about becoming a bigger, bolder, broader institution for access for young people from all different backgrounds and experience that are trying to change the economic trajectory for themselves, their families, and their communities. The first responsibility for all of us is our students. And we know that this is an interesting transition full of lots of opportunities, but also full of uncertainty. And I recognize that as you go through things like this, what you don't know or what you can't control, I've learned over my life, you can't simply control. You need to wait, be patient, work as we all have been doing with our primary mission of educating our students. And as we all think about as we go forward, what a new and better combined entity will look like. I want to say again that I firmly believe that this decision from the moment that President Clark and I entered this agreement was going to create more and broader opportunities for students, not only in Delaware, but around the country. Today, what you will hear are just the beginnings of what I know will be a constant communication, particularly to our Wesley colleagues about the upcoming plans over the next 30 and 60 days. There are any number of concerns I'm sure that you have raised and some opportunities that have come to the fore as well. We have these forums pretty regularly, and they're an opportunity not only to lead from the front, but also to make sure that we're hearing your questions and concerns and addressing them as we can. I can tell you from the beginning, we won't have all the answers today, but what we are doing is listening and responding in kind. I know Wesley already has a landing page about the new and combined entity. Delaware State launched its landing page today. Soon you will see what we are populating as frequently asked questions, and we'll continue to be open in that regard. Before I turn it over to Bob, I just want to say that as we think about our primary responsibility on both the Wesley side and the Delaware State side, we are beginning our outreach to students as well. Was quite pleased that last week some Wesley students and some Delaware State students got together and just did a photo shoot, got connected, came on each other's campus, took some pictures and talked. And I think on balance, those students on our side are certainly welcoming, and on the Wesley side are certainly excited about the opportunities that are in front of them. So as we get started, I ask that you continue to be as candid as possible. I can tell you if we have answers to your questions today, we will answer them today. If we don't, you can expect that answers to those questions will come up certainly on our landing page and in future meetings like this. So with that, I'll turn it over to President Clark, and then we'll get started with our agenda. Bob?
Thanks, Tony. And I echo everything that Dr. Allen just said. The opportunities that avail ourselves moving forward are both extremely exciting, but also let's put this in the context of what's going on with COVID right now. There's a lot of institutions and states out there, as are we, that are dealing with significant challenges. But we have a path forward to truly make a difference here in Delaware, in this region, and quite frankly, nationally. And I think we should all be very excited about that. The other thing I would just highlight as well is with this, there is change, and with change comes uncertainty, and having communications, discussing the tough issues. I think that's very important. And I welcome these forums, and I thank Tony and his leadership team for being part of it and spurring this forward. Also joining me, hopefully soon as we're starting to piece this together, as members of our leadership team as well, to help in the listening aspect, to help provide the coordination collaboration that's needed moving forward, as well as dozens of members of our respective transition teams, both at Delaware State and at Wesley College. And really, there's not much I have to add because I am in complete alignment and in agreement with Dr. Allen. And as Dr. Allen said, I've known Tony since I've got here. And as we were looking for this partnership, transformational partnership, at the end of the day, sometimes you go far from home just to return to home. And when Dr. Allen approached, it made sense on so many levels. The only thing that I would add is this. We've been doing these town halls now since, back early in the summer. And I'm sure that's the same at Delaware State. You all have had a communications outreach. For those that are part of this program today, as you walk around your respective campus and you talk to members, if they were not part of this, I would ask you to encourage them to engage. Communication is extremely important, as is information, but it's only as important as those that take the time to engage. You know, there's, again, a lot of anxiety, a lot of change. Sitting on the sidelines without being part of these forums will only add confusion. So the more people that we can get involved, the more questions that could be fielded, then the more answers and issues can be resolved and get out to those. So again, look to your right, look to your left virtually. And if you don't see some of your peers and friends, I would encourage you to reach out to them and really make a pitch that when we do these every other week, to get involved. And if for some reason your schedule doesn't permit it, submit the questions and then post these type of engagements. Make sure that you get some of the answers that come out. And again, I'm excited to be part of this. I think it's going to be something that will be very beneficial for the state, the region, and more importantly, the young men and women, our future, the students we serve. So thank you, Tony, for putting this together and moving this forward.
Thanks, Bob. We appreciate your continued partnership. We want to get right into this. Before we start, I just want to remind everybody that we do have a regulatory body. A regulatory body guides both Delaware State University and Wesley College. It's called the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, which I'm sure you're all aware of. We feel very good about our process for application to Middle States to bring these two institutions together. But the caveat is always per their approval, which they have not yet given. We do expect that to happen later in the spring, and we're excited about what that will mean. But that is one hurdle that we always like to caveat as we start these conversations. I don't see any blocker to us meeting those objectives, but want to make sure everybody knows that there is a process for us to go through. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Irene Hawkins. Dr. Irene Hawkins is the Chief Administrative Officer at Delaware State University. One of her portfolio responsibilities is the Office of Human Resources. So we do want to talk a bit about job transitions, what that will mean, and how that process will work. Dr. Hawkins?
Good morning, all, and I hope everyone is well. I want to start this morning by just giving you very high-level understanding of what we're doing in terms of transitioning this acquisition and our employees, and the employees from Wesley to Del State. And I know there's been a lot of talk. I know there's a lot of anxiety, and I'm hoping today that we can kind of put those things in check. I know that you've heard dates. I've been in meetings where I've heard the dates that some of the Wesley team has heard and little anxious about. So we want to put that in its place also. So let me start by saying, first and foremost, to our Wesley team, if you've heard the date March 15th, please understand March 15th is for Delaware State. Delaware State's leadership, Delaware State's managerial teams, That has nothing to do with, whether we have made decisions or what have you. So I know that I was on a call last week where I was asked this question. So I just want to put it out there. Not to worry about March 15th. That's not for Wesley. That is for Delaware State. I will say this, we are going through a process to get us to where we need to be as it relates to this acquisition. And for those individuals who will be acquired into Delaware State, at some point, you will be contacted. I know that there have been some individuals that have already been contacted to just talk with the leadership here at Del State. But I will assure you that at some point we will be putting our consideration list together, and we will be sharing that with the leadership of Wesley. For those of you who, and I'm just being very transparent, everyone at Wesley, just know that whether you are acquired or not, you will be notified by Wesley one way or another, if in fact, whatever the decision may be at that time. So if you're not acquired, you will receive notification from Wesley. And if you are, you will receive that notification also. So that I wanted to start with that because I know that that was a question that came up last week. As I said, we are still making determinations here. And as I said to you before, there are some people who have already met with some of the leadership here. If you have not met with anyone here, that doesn't mean that you won't be called. It just means that we are still working on the process. I will just say this so that it's clear. We will try to really expedite this and get back to the Wesley team as soon as possible. And we're looking into the April timeframe for that. So a few other things that have come up in terms of just how this process would be handled. Understand Delaware State is a quasi-state agency. We have protocols and practices that are mandated by the state of Delaware that we follow, plus the Department of Labor, of course, that we all follow. But we want to make sure that you understand that onboarding processes will be in place pursuant to our policies here at Del State. Understand that benefits, they are state benefits, which means that health insurance, dental insurance, optical insurance, pension, that is all under the administration of the state of Delaware. They are the plan administrators. So we are in no way can we change those plans. That is something that they do. In terms of just making sure that you have access to Delaware State. I know there's been questions about, well, what happens with my office here at Wesley. That is just something that, when we get to that stage and we're not there, the leadership will discuss that in more detail with you. In terms of just your accrued benefits that you have right now at Wesley, I know that is always, brings anxiety because you want to know whether or not you're going to be able to bring that with you. And again, this is something that the state of Delaware has the absolute leadership over, and we will not be able to bring your accrued vacation or sick leave or personal time. We cannot do that. So I wanted to really make that very clear to you all, and just understand that in terms of seniority there at Wesley. You know, that's not something that we're really looking at over here. I know that that's going to be a question that is asked, can I bring my seniority to Del State? And again, you know, we will determine seniority, you know, as it relates to on a case-by-case basis. But it's not something that we are looking into at this point. So I know that that's a lot, and I know we're going to probably have a question and answer period, but that's really what we're looking at this time. So again, it is absolutely looking at the team, the entire team at Wesley, and making a determination who the university, who Del State would consider, and making sure that the leadership knows that, making sure the leadership knows if those individuals are not considered, that they know that in a timely fashion. In terms of just what we will be doing if you are acquired, the onboarding process, as I said, and again, what the state of Delaware will allow and won't allow. So when we get to our question and answer period, if there are other questions, I will do my best to answer that. The other thing I want to just be very clear is that at no time will we just contact you without alerting the team at Wesley now. So we want to make that clear. I have been working directly with Ms. Dawn Howell-Bailey, who has been just great in terms of making sure that we have, you know, your pertinent information, your CVs, your resumes, scheduling meetings when we need to. And we will continue that process and make sure that everybody is aware of what we're doing. We don't want to leave anybody in the dark, but we just want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. Okay, and with that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. DeLauder, or either back to Dr. Allen.
Before you do that, Dr. Hawkins, first of all, thank you for those comments. We very much appreciate that. The only caveat I want to make sure our Wesley colleagues understand, it goes back to the approval of the acquisition. As a practical matter, even though you will hear well before legal day one, which we would define as July 1, we wouldn't be bringing any Wesley colleagues over until after that approval. So think about a start date for those who join our team to be in the July 1 timeframe. Dr. DeLauder.
Good morning. So as the president has noted, the acquisition process is under the purview of our accreditors, Middle States. And I do want to thank both of our university liaisons, Dr. Linda Murray Jackson and Dr. Christine McDermott, for all of their hard work in making sure that all of our documents have met the appropriate timelines. And so we're on schedule, and I believe that they will be making reviews and sending that information in, I think by May of late this semester. The academic affairs unit has been working very hard. We did begin early in the fall semester with an academic programs team that began reviewing all of the programs at Wesley. As President Allen has noted, we are looking to establish a health sciences college on the Wesley campus that will be comprised of nursing, public allied health, social work, and psychology, and a few of the additional priority areas of the law studies program and the sport management program. Those academic programs have been reviewed, and they have gone to our faculty senate. All new programs must be approved by our faculty senate and myself, the president, and the board of trustees. And so they have crossed the first hurdle. The faculty senate has approved, and we're waiting for the general faculty to approve those new programs before we move it through the pipeline. We've had several integration teams. We've looked at academic programming, the research and sponsored programs area, our student services, enrollment management, student life, and faculty, faculty affairs and athletics. And we're certain that we've put the processes in place to make sure that we can accommodate the new programming and the student services needed for this transition. There were some questions around the faculty processes. Dr. Hawkins has noted, we are an AAUP school, we are a union school. Each department has been given the opportunity to review all faculty applicants and to weigh in on their recommendations. We're also looking at FTE analysis based upon additional workload needs, and that information will be conveyed to Dr. Hawkins so that those recommendations can move forward. I think that I've covered all of the areas relevant to academic affairs, and so I will stop now and turn it over to our COO, Mr. Cleon Colley. Thank you.
And before we do that, thank you, Dr. DeLauder. Before we do that, a couple of things, again, to highlight here. We've obviously seen some reports relative to promotion and tenure in the academic affairs division. Certainly President Clark and I have talked about that. You've already heard that we are proud to have a chapter of the AAUP on campus and have a collective bargaining agreement with them that guides that process for us. I want my Wesley College to just remember that what you bring over is not only your excellent intellectual capital, but a number of quality students and excellent programs. So there is a need for us as we grow into a new combined entity. But having said that, we need to go through the requisite process and do that in line with our partnership with our faculty here at Delaware State University. But just remember, you have some exceptional programs, a lot of exceptional students, and we have been growing significantly now for the last 10 years. So our ability to bring over you all in a thoughtful way so that we can even be a bigger, stronger organization is important to us. Now I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Operating Officer, Cleon Colley. There have been some questions, President Clark and I have talked about it, around space utilization. One of the things that makes Wesley very attractive to us is your downtown location. We don't think that we can be a great university in a capital city without actually being in that capital city. So being able to understand that space utilization thoughtfully and make sure that we can accommodate our new Wesley colleagues is going to be important as well. But there's a process to be followed along those lines too. So I want to turn it over to Mr. Colley to talk a little bit about that process, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. With regards to space utilization, let me start with saying the actual space that will be utilized has not been determined as of yet. What we're doing currently is we're going through the process evaluating all the space on the Wesley campus. Priority one for the combined university will be the Wesley College of Health and Behavioral Science. So to Dr. DeLauder's point, when you think about nursing, public and allied health, social work, psychology, exercise therapy, occupational therapy, and medical technology, that will be priority one. With regards to other programs and them wanting to be located at Wesley, those programs will be evaluated in the second tier after we figure out the utilization for the College of Health and Behavioral Science. So it'll take some time. Right now, at least in the next couple months, we'll be evaluating the space. We'll identify that space for the Health and Behavioral Science probably around April, May, and then we'll look at the other programs closer to June and make that evaluation. I do know, looking through the feed, that one of the questions is, when is the acquisition going to occur? The acquisition is scheduled to occur at the end of June, and those decisions, so therefore you'll be notified, or everyone will be notified after the official acquisition has occurred, that it has taken place, and we'll move forward from there.
Great, thank you, Mr. Colley. Before we go open up the Q&A, I want to turn it back to President Clark to add any color based on what we've heard today.
No, I just want to, again, Tony, highlight the things that you and Irene have said, as you know, and as you have spoke towards, the anxiety in terms of, there's been a lot of, I would say, discussion's not the right word, but statements made that, hey, we're gonna lose our tenure, we're gonna lose our promotion. A lot of people are going to go away, and as Irene just mentioned, and as you just did so eloquently, is there's an understood value for what Wesley brings, and quite frankly, those discussions and those decisions have not been made, and they will be made in the context of the process that exists, that all those that have the talent and the pedigree would benefit from. And I think that's important now to know. And I appreciate you highlighting that. And Irene, I appreciate you highlighting that as well. Because that's just some narrative that's getting out there that quite frankly had no basis point. And I think you all just put that to rest. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. We're going to open up for questions, and I think I can moderate it pretty effectively here as I look at them. The first is just a repeat. So Dr. DeLauder, there's a question just about which programs we are planning to approve. I just wanted a repeat of that. So could you go through that again?
Sure. So the board approves new programs and concentrations. The board does not approve new courses. And so the Senate approved new courses as discussed between departments, new courses that would be incorporated into the curriculum, post approval from middle states. The standalone programs, the Masters of Arts in Teaching, we did have this program several years back. We deactivated it in 2015. We're bringing it back through this acquisition because we plan to use the majority of the curriculum from Wesley. So that's the Masters of Arts in Teaching. We have the Masters of Science in Occupational Therapy, the Masters of Nursing, the Clinical Nurse Specialist in Adult Gerontology. And then we have the Masters of Arts in Justice, the Bachelor of Arts in International Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Law, and the Associate's degree in Psychology, the Associate's degree in Liberal Studies, and the Associate's degree in Biology, and the Informatics Certificate, the Postmaster Certificate in Gerontology. And so those are the standalone programs.
Thank you, Dr. Lauder.
Mm-hmm.
Another question, and this is a question we actually get at Delaware State pretty regularly too. Will the combined entity be considered to be 100% public or some other percentage? It's important to know that Delaware State is a quasi-public university. Actually, we have the same classification as the University of Delaware. That does give us opportunities relative to, as Dr. Hawkins noted, to have access to state benefits and the like, but we are not fully funded by the state. That is important for us because as they say across the pond, we have to go sing for our supper every year to the Joint Finance Committee and the bond bill for a reasonable portion of our overall revenue, which is about somewhere usually between 30 and 40%. So it is important that we grow organically. That's why this particular partnership is an important one to us. And it's important that we continue to diversify our portfolio and revenue stream. There is a question about student engagement relative to Wesley students being afforded campus tours and access to some orientation types of activities. Tomorrow, we begin the outreach to Wesley students. As I said, we've done a very, very nice gathering last week with a couple of Wesley students and Delaware State students, which was nice. Our Delaware State students have questions too, so our sessions will be with both of the student bodies. They will have access not only to the academic portion of what they'll need as they transition, but also to a sense of student life and activities here at Delaware State University and some of the real traditions that will continue at Wesley. I think that's important to note. I have been very clear that there are a lot of significant traditions of 147-year-old college that we want to maintain as well. So coming to understand those traditions and combine them in this new entity is important to us. But that begins tomorrow. You'll see that I actually put out a video to Wesley students this morning that is on our landing page, and it talks a lot about our really earning their choice. In the same way that Wesley had to earn their choice to come to Wesley, we want to do the same thing here at Delaware State University in the combined entity. So we're laser focused in that regard. Other questions?
Hey, Tony, if I could just share, and it's something that you and I, and again, the leadership, we talk a lot about the opportunities and the excitement and how important and historic this is. The other day when our students gathered here and at Del State, just an observation that pretty much operationalized our words. So a bunch of the students were here and they were talking, and afterwards, it wasn't just a canned photo shoot where they came, took pictures, said their lines and left. Students started exchanging information. One of the young ladies from Del State reached out to Laura Mays, our Director of Alumni Affairs, and many other things, said, "Can I get a quick tour?" And then one of our students said, "Sure, I'll give you a tour." So, this is not just something that is like a train moving forward without any human occupants. The human occupants that are engaged, and yes, we've discussed a little bit in terms of the anxieties and the uncertainties, but there's also a lot of positivity, and it's being reflected in the kids and the future we serve, these students. And I just wanted to share that because it just kind of blew me away watching that interaction. It could have been very canned, could have been very impersonal, and it basically turned into, well, I'd like to get to know you better. And hey, can I get some Wesley t-shirt? Yeah. Can I get some Del State t-shirts? And then kids giving kids tours. I mean, just a great event and a great reflection on what this really means to the young men and women we serve.
That's great, Bob. I'm so glad to hear that. Our students were equally thrilled to be a part of that. A couple more questions. Will DSU provide transportation from Wesley to and from Delaware State University? The answer is absolutely. In regard to student housing, has a decision been made on if students have a choice to live on either campus? We are in the final throes of that decision. I can tell you that Wesley, as you know, will be a themed campus, largely our health sciences program, not exclusively, but largely. We have a housing stock on campus here at Delaware State that I believe will be interesting to Wesley students. They will certainly have access there. And the Wesley housing stock, obviously, we know about too, and our Delaware State students are interested in that regard too. So once we are a combined entity, we are a combined entity. So all students will have an opportunity to access student housing through our normal processes. Is there any information about tuition and fees for transferring students from Wesley? I can tell you that, and President Clark and I made this decision early, the tuition and fees at Delaware State University will be the ones that our Wesley students pay. Again, you'll see more information on that as we start with our first student forum tomorrow, and you continue to receive information from our Delaware State colleagues. And I think I have listed all the questions that I see. I don't know if my colleagues see other questions in the chat.
So I was just going to note that the tuition fees are noted on our admissions page. If you want a full breakdown, you just go to our main page, click on admissions resources, and you can see a breakdown based upon your status as in-state or out-of-state.
Thank you, Madam Provost. I just saw one more question. Will classes be taught on both campuses? The simple answer is absolutely. Okay. All right, hearing none other, I just want to say again, thank you for this opportunity. This is exactly what we hoped it would be. I know everybody still has questions, and I can tell you that We'll be taking them on our landing page, obviously. There will be an FAQ out there. And as you see, colleagues, just know that if you haven't heard from the leadership team then, at either campus, know that we are still deliberating. But over the next 30 to 60 days, you will hear more information and more decisions coming quite rapidly as we get to a new, very powerful combined entity that I think will rival most universities in the region and will set a precedent for many across the country. So Bob, I'll ask you to close.
Thank you, my friend. And I'll just, again, reiterate what Dr. Allen said. You can't be informed unless you participate to be informed. So make sure you get out to your friends and fellows and have them engage here and ask those questions and engage in this type of dialogue. And also, thanks to all the transition team members on both sides that are truly, burn the midnight oil to make sure that this thing moves forward and is done so in a collaborative way. And finally, just to again put an exclamation on Tony's point, it's not a decision until it's a decision. And so don't waste the energy. Don't spin up the anxiety when you hear things. Well, I think this is going to happen, or I'm hearing that this may happen. When it's going to happen, the leadership will make sure that you are engaged and then informed. And just let the process continue to move forward, because at the end of the day, thinking that it's going to happen or not, and then spinning each other up with anxiety and concerns does nobody any good. So again, can't be informed unless you participate to be informed. And we look forward to continuing these with Del State every other week, right, Tony? We're going to do this.
Yeah, and sometimes it might increase, but yeah.
Okay. And then stay engaged with your respective transition team members on the integration planning team. The information is out there if you're willing to go to the source to get it. So again, I just want to thank Tony and his team for this entire process. I mean, this has been something that has been very beneficial to both sides. And again, look forward to continue to bringing this to closure by the end of June and opening up the opportunities for the students. So thanks again, Tony.
Thank you all. Have a great day. And remember the vision for all of us, the most diverse contemporary HBCU in the nation. We'll see you soon.